Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. This is your host, Critical Failure. This past week I've had a terrible cold, so now that I'm getting over it, I feel like we can finally chill out and talk some video games, which I'm very much looking forward to. As far as what I've been playing this past week, just a few things here or there, but there is some news, just a few stories here or there. Most of all, gonna listen to some chiptunes, gonna talk some video games, gonna have a real good time. As it relates to chiptunes, over on Battle of the Bits, they've been having one of the major battles. Which one is it now? Summer Chip 11. And I'm actually on Summer Chip 11. I believe we played my track here on the air. But that one is coming to a close with 9 days left to vote. So let's listen to a couple of the tracks that are available for Summer Chip 11. We're going to kick things off with a chiptune, and when we get back, we'll talk some video games. Stick around, you're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. bubblegum octopus with the ocean used to only be outside. So last week, I talked a little bit about Quake. It's an old favorite of mine, although not many of the people who listen to this actually, enjoy Quake like I do. But since they updated it, we have more examples of games that have been pulled from Steam. I noticed that in the old days, when I first got on Steam, you would buy Quake, and then separately you would buy the mission packs. Mission Pack 1, Source of Armageddon, Scourge of Armageddon, and Disillusion of Eternity. And they were sold as their own separate entries on Steam, because Steam had not yet implemented its DLC model that it has now. So, when they made the new version of Quake, which, by the way, this is really nice, they took those two mission packs and they just folded them in for free to the base version of Quake, which is great. And then the two previous editions that you would buy separately were pulled from the store. So there's no real reason to buy them, so it makes sense that they pulled them. But on the other hand, now I have two more games that you can't buy anymore, so I guess that makes me part of the cool kids club, right? That's a good place to be, isn't it? Here's another one for you. I haven't mentioned this on TCR yet, but there was the thing that a lot of people are talking about in terms of vintage games are that copy of Super Mario Brothers that sold for $2 million. Apparently, that was some sort of money laundering operation. Money laundering / market manipulation operation. What? You're telling me that the original Super Mario Brothers is not worth $2 million? My goodness, I'm totally taken by surprise. What? As soon as I heard that it sold for that much, I was like, well, that sounds perfectly normal to me. I don't know. Just think it's pretty funny. Nothing going on over on Retro Dodo this week. Their most recent story is still the A500 mini console that we talked about last week, that Hemrock brought up for you Amiga fans. Personally, I'm looking forward to the Odin. That's the sub $200 handheld that's supposed to be capable of playing Switch games. My kids are like, buy us a Switch. It's like, it's the most underpowered console on the market to date. Can we just hang on a little longer? Because I'm sure there's going to be Switch Pro Plus / EX Plus Turbo, with more juice in it just around the corner. As soon as the Odin comes out and can play pirated Switch games, there's no way they're not going to follow it up with something more powerful. It's just no way. Oh, here's another one for you, and I'm glad I'm bringing this up now because I haven't done it myself. Not the original. Jeez, let me back up a little bit. So the Epic Game Store, which most of the people I know, like me, maintain Epic accounts just so that they can snag the free game when it comes out, just in case anything cool happens, or maybe if you want to play a game while Steam is down, you have that Epic account that's just standing by. Well, this week, one of the free games is Saints Row 3 Rebooted, which I never took the time to purchase. That's actually really cool. Now, when it first came out, I kind of just stuck to the original release of Saints Row 3. It's a great game. I didn't see much of a need for a new version, but I like the Saints Row franchise a lot, and if they wanted to make something new like that, whatever, okay, that's fine. At least they're making new product for the series. So I wasn't interested enough to drop a bunch of money on, but I was glad they made it. And lo and behold, it's the free game on Epic this week. So if you have any interest in Saints Row, or if you've never played Saints Row 3, get the remastered version for free. It's a really, really good game. I really do like it. It's the closest thing to a modern version of what Grand Theft Auto used to be. Because Grand Theft Auto now, like GTA 5, in my opinion, I mean, it's a good game, but it's nothing like, the old school mission-based, kind of silly, whatever. I think Saints Row is where it's at. So I've also heard whispers of the franchise returning with a reboot, which I don't know. It's kind of the same thing as the 3 getting remade. Like, I feel weird when it comes to reboots. They could do it, it could be a good thing because the original Saints Row is like an impossible game to get. It didn't get ported to the PC, and it's not, unless you're playing an Xbox, you can't really play it. So maybe they could remake that, and that would be great. I don't know. But that's a little bit of, positive news when it comes to gaming. PC Gamer has a story related to Saints Row. The Saints Row modder and Volition community developer Mike Watson, a.k.a. Idle Ninja, has died. Apparently, is this the guy that created the Gentleman edition of Saints Row 2? Because that's really the game that kept that. That's really the patch that kept that game alive for years and years. Watson earned his reputation as a master modder of Saints Row with a project that fixed many PC port issues called Gentleman of the Row, long considered essential by players. He was responsible for the Sandbox Plus mod for Saints Row III and a couple elements of the Mega Mod compilation, Things to Do in Steelport, and several mods for Saints Row 4 and more. His passion for the series earned him community manager position at Saints Row Studio Volition. That's rough. Not just because of the work he did. I mean, anytime I read a story like this, apparently he had stage 4 cancer. Not just that he made all these products that I enjoy, but this was also a human person. So thank you, Mike, for all your work. And I hope you're doing okay wherever you are. Here we go. The Saints Row devs are not backing down over reboot criticisms. Oh dear. The announcement trailers has a split opinion. All right, let's see the announcement trailer because I haven't seen any trailer yet. Let's pause for just a moment. Well, I took a look and we don't know anything. It's entirely pre-rendered. It's all cutscenes. So what? But it's a teaser trailer, so I guess that's kind of how things usually go. I didn't see any spaceships, which is pretty cool. I didn't see any superpowers, which is pretty cool. It looks goofy and ridiculous. Every single person in the entire trailer looks like a custom character. Like the Saints Row franchise has always been like, making your character ridiculous in one way or another. Well, it just looks like everybody's been done that way. But being Saints Row, I think this is one instance where it actually kind of fits. But again, okay, I'm on board. Let's make the game. Let's see if it's any good. They do fun really, really well. They do fun well enough that when it comes to Saints Row games, I'm always ready to give them a grain of salt for whatever kind of stuff they want to do when it comes to the story or any of that stuff. Like in 4, they were out in space, and I was like, okay, this is all right. My only problem with that was like, I think the superpowers kind of took something away from the game, because then it was no longer about stealing cars and driving around. And then there was the one where you're in hell, where he plays Johnny Gat. Well, it's like the standalone whatever. Again, it was fun. It was a really fun game. But I would have liked to have gone back to the roots. So that's what I hope they do here. Now, if you scroll down to the comments, first of all, the like-dislike ratio is more dislike than like, but it's pretty even. It's like 15K likes, 21K dislikes. So that's pretty disliked, but I don't know, close. Number one comment is, I really feel old watching this. 2,000 thumbs up. And I see it, because if you look at the characters, it's a Zoomer culture, I guess you'd say. But that's who's buying games now. It's for the kids. It's the younger generation's crowd. So I get that. Next comment, our old saints in our memories forever. Yes, that's true. I don't know how much longer, like, the voice actors of the older characters could keep making games. Like, I remember in one of the later games, the actor who plays the voice of Johnny Gat, I don't know if he had a cold or something that day, but just sounded way old. Like it was the right person, but he sounded a lot older, or it didn't sound quite right. Like he couldn't do it anymore. I don't know. So a shake-up might be good. Might be good. I don't know. Keep making games, boys. I'm interested. We'll see what happens. Oh, let's see how they address criticism. This is from PC Gamer. This is not backing down over criticism. So the Saints Row developer Volition told fans it's not backing down over the reboot after the announcement trailer divided opinions. The reboot was announced at Gamescom last week, waving goodbye to the former 3rd Street Saints in favor of a ragtag quartet of wannabe crime bosses. As the VGC reports, the trailer has a startling number of dislikes across the various YouTube channels, and often outweighing or closely rematching the number of likes. Alright, so let's stop there for a second. Is that the problem, that the old 3rd Street Saints are gone? Is that the reason why they're thumbing it down? I could see that being disappointment, but at the same time, in the story, the 3rd Street Saints owned the galaxy. They owned the galaxy, they owned the kingdom of hell, and the earth had been destroyed. So, there's not much you can do in terms of story from there. So I don't blame them for trying to change, reboot a little bit. And having 4 fresh characters as protagonists or whatever that we see here doesn't mean, we won't see some familiar face down the line make a cameo. Because that's another thing we saw a painful amount of in Saints Row. It's tons and tons of throwbacks and cameos to previous games. And then after that in the article, it just sort of like devolves into Twitter garbage. Okay. It seems like the most level-headed thing is just let's see the game. Let's just show me the game, and that's all that matters. This trailer's just a trailer. All right, moving on from Saints Row. All right, this bit is being recorded like 2 days later. I swear I thought I was going to get it finished when I recorded the first half. Oh, well, let me check the levels real quick. How's that? Is that any better? I'm checking the levels now. See, the first bit was recorded really quiet, and then I was able to, boost it in post. I don't want it to peak. It sounds awful when it's peaking. All right, I think we can go with that. Man, I gotta be honest, that Saints Row thing, I'm, torn, because one of the things people say, I watched that trailer on the first half of the show, and I was like, it looks okay. We'll see, we'll see what happens when the game comes out. And then I was reading more and more of the comments, and people are saying, this just looks like a Fortnite expansion. And then it occurred to me, one of the things I really liked about the Saints Row franchise is they did a really good job making it into a crime sort of, I hate to say cinematic experience, but there was a criminal based story that was going on with characters that I was able to get invested in. And I'm not just talking about the Saints themselves either. The bad guys in every one of the games were all really colorful and had their own distinct personalities and stuff. That's what we need out of this game. So thinking back on that, now I'm kind of not so sure. I'm kind of not very happy about the new trailer. But I still maintain that it's just a trailer, and we'll see what happens when the game comes out. But moving on from that, I spent a little time playing Tabletop Simulator yesterday. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from that. I woke up this morning to a trailer for, what is this, Axis Football 2021, which looks okay. I'm not much of a sports guy. But I do like some of these management games, especially when they allow you to use custom images for things. I don't think this game does, which is unfortunate, but it has build fantasy teams and run a fantasy league. Out of the Park Baseball was really, really good at that. I enjoyed inventing, 20 team names and then just running a sim that's completely fabricated for them from the ground up. I would like to see a football game, an American football game, by the way. No disrespect to my European friends, do the same kind of thing. And I'm kind of hoping Axis Football 2021 does that, but we'll see. regular price is $30. So it's not a cheap game, but they're not charging me like an arm and a leg. Like, I feel like $30 these days, that's a reasonable price for a brand new game, in my opinion. So I asked the question in the forums, hey, does this allow for uploading custom images in any sort of capacity? And we'll see what they say back. One of the things I was hoping to see from Screwfly Studios, you know, the indie company that made a lot of those games that use custom images, hey, make a poker game. I thought it'd be fun to be able to play like a Texas Hold'em game with the same sort of character creation technology that you have in like Zafe House Diaries. So you could just like import a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger and then like put in a couple numbers that they use to generate his personality and then give him a name, and boom, now you're playing poker with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what I loved about Zafe House Diaries. The combination of using images and giving them personalities made for some pretty awesome, like, intangible role-playing. Especially when you get weird with it. So I would have loved to have seen them do that like a poker game or something. But that is that. What else is going on here? I ended up buying Battlefield 4 and 5, which I never would have thought was going to happen over the past couple days, because they went down to $5 a piece. Battlefield 5, in particular, they did like a free weekend this past weekend, and that's a normal thing they do. Okay, free weekend this weekend, but if you buy it during the free weekend, it comes at a discounted price. That's normal. But to go from, what is the core game, $50? Yeah, still $50 down to $5. That's the kind of discount that you used to see on Steam back in like 2009, 2010 when I came on, but you don't really see so much anymore. And that's really my only problem with the Call of Duty franchise. They put one out every year and it costs a ton of money. This could be great, you know, $5 core game, and if you want money out of me, then you got a nice big DLC market that I can buy into and support that way. I think that's perfectly reasonable. So, which is weird, because especially Battlefield 5, they had a horrendous launch. Oh my gosh. But I started playing through the story of Battlefield 4, and of course I haven't touched the online stuff, because this is one of those games where like there is a single-player campaign, but the single-player campaign is essentially just designed as a tutorial so that you know what you're doing. I don't know, it's been fun. I probably put like 3 hours into it at this point, so I'm nearing my $5 value, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so that's a thing. It's been a really crazy little bit. You know, I got something nice to say about Electronic Arts, something I guess kind of nice to say about Epic Games, working on bringing back Saints Row. You know, very weird, very weird. I feel like just behind all of these nice things is going to be like a horrible, a horrible revelation that just nobody can bear. I don't know. We'll see. This is kind of what I pictured happening back in 2009 when I first got into like the freeware scene, and I realized, hey, there's really amazing fleshed out games that you can just get for free. My thought was always, the people who make games you have to pay for should be worried. And now it seems like we're finally seeing some changes. It's like not because of those free games. I'm not that deluded, but now we're seeing a little bit of a backing off. It's like the money is going more to a DLC market or something. I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. Whatever. It is what it is. We're nearing the 25-minute mark, and this is the time where I thank the sponsors. This is indeed a Patreon-sponsored program. To these individuals, as soon as I can get the show done, I give them early access to the show, which in October it's going to go back to a Wednesday release, as well as, you know, a few supporter exclusive things. Monday Night Morrowind will be doing in October again. But most of all, in old traditions, I read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen here on the air, and they are Hemrock, Tecmoballs, Darabka, and Eric Controller. Thank you all so much for supporting, and I hope you're enjoying the party. Here's one for you that I see up on Steam quite a bit. Not just Steam, but a lot of the, you know, game sites or whatever. Psychonauts 2 is a thing. How did we do this group? Was there any interest in this group in the original Psychonauts? Because I know that's kind of like a beloved game, especially amongst PC gamers. But I never quite bought into it, and I don't think there was anything that particularly turned me off to the game. It's just that when it came out, I didn't have access to it, and then when I had access to games, I never really went back and dug into it. To be honest, when I look at the screenshots, the art style doesn't really appeal to me, but people say it was dope. I think I even have the original in Steam. Let's check it out. Did I hide it? Yeah, it's hidden. I have the original game on Steam. It says I last played it in 2013, and at one point I marked it as hidden, which is something I do when I never want to play a game again. I don't even want to see it in my listed games to consider as something to play, because I considered it noise. Hey, what are you going to do? So that was my opinion of the original Psychonauts. And I know it's one of these games where if I really dug into it, then I'd find something to like and realize that all along my disinterest was unfounded. I know that's the case, but, I'm getting older and I'm getting more curmudgeon-y, and you can get off my lawn. It's just how it is. I'm sorry. In some cases, I want to stay young. There are certain things that I want to remain young, and I fight the aging process. And I try to keep my mind as open as possible. I try not to be stuck in the 1990s as it comes to some things. But at the same time, I actually am getting older. And I also want to embrace it. I try not to talk too much about work. But I worked with a guy who was in his 50s who used to tell me, when you get older, it's a beautiful thing. Embrace it. And I love that mentality. It's okay to be in your 30s and sometimes to just act like you're in your 30s and say, you know what? This thing that kids do, I don't like it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't like it because I'm old. And that's how it goes. Speaking of being old and curmudgeon-y, I actually want to launch the... I want to go claim my free copy of Saints Row 3 on Epic. And I actually do have the Epic thing installed, but I hate launching it just because it locks everything up. So rather than do that, I'm going to go in through Discord. Because on the Discord server, I'm plugging the Discord server. On the Discord server, I have a bot installed that will show you, hey, this is what Epic's giving away for free, and if you want it, you can click here and get it off the browser. Gives you a chance to go in and register the game without having to have an Epic bookmark in your browser bookmarks or any of that stuff, and you can go in and get it quickly and get out. It's one of the things that keeps me coming back to my Discord server, even though it doesn't really get used much, unless it's just me and Swingle hanging around. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, it launched minimized, so I thought it was like taking a long time to load. Actually, you know what? I'm going to talk directly to you, Hemrock, because I know you're one of the few people who listens during the September bit, late August and September bit, when the show really is hanging on by a thread. There is a retro game handhelds Discord that I think you might actually really enjoy, and it's specifically about the emulation machines that we discuss. The Powkitty Company, the Anbernic Company, and all that stuff, and all the different things you can do with those machines, and what you happen to be playing on those machines that you have, that type of thing. I see a lot of stuff in that server that you would enjoy. So if you're ever on the Webernet again, I know you're not much of the Discord type, but that's one you might dig. So that said, let's drop down. And I don't want to pause the recording because I'm reaching a point where if I pause the recording now and try and do things off the air, then it just doesn't, the program never gets completed. Okay, so Yooka-Laylee was free until the 26th, which I missed out on, but that's fine because I have it on Steam. Yooka-Laylee is a fun little game. Took a lot of heat when it came out because people were expecting it to be like Banjo-Kazooie. But when I finally played it, not holding it to any standard, because I didn't play Banjo-Kazooie until I was an adult, just playing it for what it is, charming little third-person platforming game, I really enjoyed it, especially now since it wasn't a blockbuster hit. You often see it get on sale like this, not for free, but I think I bought my copy for $5. I think Yooka-Laylee is actually a really good choice if you're a platforming guy. Again, I know Sendu and his boys are platformers for life, that kind of thing, so it might not hold up to Banjo-Kazooie or any of that stuff. That's not what it is. It's a different thing. But it was fun. I pressed the button on the controller and it made the little lizard thing jump. And there's lots of bright colored environments. And, you know, for me, being a simple man of simple intelligence, that's really all it took. I liked it. I think there's a lot there to like. Change my mind. Or don't, because I hate that. Okay, there we go. Saints Row 3 Remastered is in my Epic Games collection. Last time I played through Saints Row 3, I played through it 3 times back to back to back. I couldn't get enough. I thought it was awesome, right? Because I remember when I had a potato laptop computer that couldn't really handle gaming. At that time, Kaiser and Darabka were playing through Saints Row 3, and I was just green with envy. I wanted so bad to play it. I was able to play it elsewhere, like on the PS3 or something. But when I finally got it running on the PC with this new machine, I still call it new after these several years, but I was like, let's make up for lost time. This is one of the chosen games. So, given the fact that it's one of the chosen games, even if this remastered version is bad, I still want to play through it. So that's the thing. Okay, we're 32 minutes in. I'm not going to pretend that I have enough to talk about to constitute like a regular amount of content. However, last week, Hemrock was nice enough to record pretty much the star bit, the main bit of the show. And consequently, there were a couple of comments that kind of went by the wayside. So, as we do the fail bag this week, we're going to be making up for lost time. My good buddies Mecha Menace, my good buddies Alex Swingle, Desm, all you guys. I saw your comments. Thank you so much. Let's see what we got. So, of course, you can always, if you know me personally, you can send me an email. Just be clear about what I can and can't say on the air. You can also go to Discord. I have the Tiger Claw Media Discord, which doesn't get used a ton, but if you want to get around YouTube's, the way they hide comments sometime, that's one place to do it, because you can say pretty much anything there, and it will appear. All right, so let's see what we got. Comments. Uncheck the ones I haven't responded to. We got to go back 2 weeks. 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 2 weeks. And there wasn't much 2 weeks ago. We got one from Desm. Did I read this? I think I may have. The font is a UX issue thing, using high-res fonts that appear tiny and clashes with the classic look of the pixel art. People were really hating it. Lol. I think there's already a fix available. I'm not 100% sure since I'm not playing it. He's talking about the 2D remakes for Final Fantasy. I could see that being a thing. I wonder why, when repolishing and remaking a 2D game, why the fonts would be like a big contention where they were like, all right, boys, look, we're remaking this game. We got to make these fonts look great. That's the part people want to see. It seems like the exact opposite to me. I mean, am I right? Or am I wrong? Tell me if I'm crazy, because I know one thing I love about the group that listens to this is that nobody has any qualms with telling me I'm dead wrong. This is the TCR listener base has always been awesome about putting me right back in my place when I step out of line. So thank you for that. Desmond, my apologies if I read that last week. Whatever. What are we gonna do? I think I did read these. The cacophonous, stumbling over itself melody of the first song sounds like it would play during the final boss of a Kirby game. I'm sure I read this. Did anyone wait for the secret track at the end? I wonder what he thought of the return to Battletoads. I didn't play Battletoads much. Wait, amongst the folks who listen to this, do we have any fans of the Battletoads franchise? Because I played Battletoads on NES maybe once or twice, just enough to know what kind of game it is and what people are talking about when they talk about Battletoads. And I remember it being difficult, but I don't remember why. And that's really it. What's the meme that Alex and I have been using lately? Hey, it's just like this other game, but worse. That's what we see a lot of that in Steam and just everywhere in games right now. It's like, hey, this is just like Contra, but worse. That's what I thought about Battletoads. It was the very first example of that. Hey, this is just like Double Dragon, but worse. I'm sorry. Is that a hot take? And I know they did a game together, Double Dragon and Battletoads. And you know what? Double Dragon and Battletoads is probably just like Double Dragon, but worse. What are you going to do? Extremely hot take. KY says in the Leisure Suit Larry security questions video, Control-X isn't working for me on the Steam version. What he's talking about is the original AGI game for DOS, Leisure Suit Larry and the Land of the Lounge Lizards. A point-and-click adventure game that worked off of a parser. It would ask you weird cultural questions to make sure you were, of age, but the questions didn't age very well, so it became sort of a weird thing. Well, I always played that game in the Abandonware scene. So in the Abandonware scene, if you get Leisure Suit Larry, Control-Alt-X, and it just skips the questions. So as it turns out, if you buy it on Steam, like I did years later, Control-Alt-X doesn't work. Apparently when they cracked it for the Abandonware scene, that was something that was added. So, sorry? I don't know. I made that video at least 5 years ago, so I don't think there's going to be a follow-up. But I like it that people still comment on it. And Leisure Suit Larry is an interesting game because of the adult nature. It's a game that like a lot of people remember fondly, but also it's like it's one of those things like a guilty pleasure game. Like you keep it on the down low. I remember Al Lowe, who created Leisure Suit Larry, saying he sold more guides, more strategy guides for Leisure Suit Larry than he actually sold games. So in his mind, it was the most pirated game in game history. Of course, I don't know what the really most pirated game is, but I think that's an interesting tidbit surrounding that franchise. Beach trip. Then I did the beach trip video, had a couple of really awesome warm comments. Stay safe. Hope you're having a nice time vacation. Looks like it's nice out there. It really was. It really was. We went to Bethany Beach, and we spent 4 days out there. It was like a short week kind of thing. Like we got out there Monday night, and we left. We were scheduled to leave Friday morning. We ended up leaving Thursday night. So it was a couple days, whatever. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I'm not much of a beach guy, and I have 3 kids, right? So when you have small children, as the dad, when you go on vacation, you are there, how can I say this so it doesn't sound overly negative? You have to go there understanding that it's a time of servitude. Do you know what I mean? I was there to make sure my kids have everything they needed and were safe. Because I remember going to the beach, when I didn't have kids and seeing these angry parents who would just sit on a lawn chair and just scream at their kids. And it's like, are you having fun? Is this really what you wanted? No. So I was there to work, sort of, but I found a lot of good things, in the small things. We went for the second day we were there. We were too tired to like go to the beach again and like swim in the ocean and whatnot. But we instead went in the evening and did sort of like a beach walk, and then at sunset, and then we did like a boardwalk, walk kind of thing where we got T-shirts for the kids and got some disgusting beach food and that sort of stuff. It was a really good time, man. I enjoyed it. My apologies if I made the show suffer. This is very much a situation where it's like, this is my real family. My kids are getting old enough. They're going to remember all this stuff. They are number one in my life. What'd it do? This is an interesting one. On the 2D Remakes episode, which came out a couple episodes, Juber K says, in high school, I bet you were voted most likely to continue being awesome. That is such a nice thing to say from a comment that at first glance looked like it was going to be very mean. The reality is I didn't finish high school, and I was the most awkward kid you could imagine, and people didn't really like me in high school, and I don't blame them because I was really weird. I had some friends. I wasn't that bad. I was into punk in high school, so I was in a couple of punk bands, and we were listening to CDs that we bought for cheap, and we were trying to find underground bands, and we were really down on what's on the radio, man. You're into the mainstream stuff, man. They've got your mind. You're being controlled, man. Yeah, I wasn't very cool in high school. Who was? What are you gonna do? It was a weird time. I'd love to do an entire show about all the crazy mistakes I made in high school and all the bizarre stuff that was going around in my brain, because it was also I went to a really violent high school where a lot of bad stuff happened. There were good people there too, but it was crazy. And then at the same time, I was like, hey, I got Pokemon. Do you guys like Pokemon? Pokemon is a lot of fun. Okay, here's my money, sir. What's on my shelf? Good old Mecha Menace writes, I agree with you that there is a GBA boom that has been brewing for the last 3 years or so. I see this reflected in the prices, and specifically the interest in the authentic plastic squares. Yeah, I would agree. I think the GBA is a nexus between generation of gamers, those retro enthusiasts interested in 8 and 16-bit generations, as well as the kids who first experienced games on GBC and GBA around the turn of the century. Those 2D gamers also included kids who wanted to dip their toe in old games, but not actual 8-bit, 16-bit console. Let me read more. Console games. Those games are seen as rich, old grandpa gamers. The implicity is understood that these GBA games included the good ones, available and still relatively easy to play, and the hype machine is pushing them to get them while the getting's good. The single screen form factor also makes consoleizations practical. There are plenty of mods to personalize and upgrade the capabilities of the GBX line. Yeah, it's good stuff. Before we move on to the rest, because he kind of goes on a tangent here, when the GBA came out, and I don't have like a wiki article in front of me, so help me if I get the timeline wrong, but I remember that being like still like PS2 era where everything was still 3D. So when I first saw like screenshots of GBA games in a magazine, I was like, yes, the Super Nintendo is back. That's what I thought. Now maybe erroneously so, but I clearly remember thinking that back then. But back to his comment. He says, tangent! I think the cross-generation compatibility of the Game Boy line and the relatively cheap GBX carts has also driven interest into those libraries for those who want to dive deeper. I think people started collecting these games because they were a cheap way to retro, though that is changing for some more desired titles. Anyone look at Rollins Curse 2 lately? I don't know that one, so let's take a look, because that seems to be what he's asking. We're going to head over to eBay and see how much they're trying to steal money from people. All right, how much money are you going to steal for Rollins Curse 2? It's $777. It's an original Game Boy game. Here we go, $60 plus 4 shipping, our best offer for a cart only. I've never heard of this game before, dude. Or I could go over to AliExpress and get a reproduction for $4. Thank you very much. That's the reason why I don't mind reproductions anymore. Back to his comment. I love that title screen to Need for Speed Underground. To the window, to the wall, all skeet, 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 skeet. Thinking of that game just led me down the rabbit hole of enjoying those old Chappelle Show skits. Never seen them? I recommend looking up Chappelle Show Real Hollywood Stories. When I was still a waiter at IHOP, one of the waiters loaned me a Season 1 DVD set of Chappelle Show, and I watched it and enjoyed it very, very much. But then after that, I never went back to it. I do like Dave Chappelle, though. I think he's very talented. Desm says, I look forward to the day when I can play emulators on my lawnmower and blood pressure monitor. Need for Speed Underground was when the series was at its peak, in my opinion. It makes me want to bust out the PS2 and get some more cars in the garage. That's good. That's good. I like it. I'm glad it's not just me. Because I thought, I was wondering if this is like a guilty pleasure kind of game when I was playing it at first glance. Mecha Menace says he's not Geordie on Jeopardy duty, but Hemrock could definitely sub regularly for CF. Do you realize you both share the same cadence and tone? Obviously, you share the same interests too. It's like you're the same person. Hemrock, the PS2 is not compatible with some games, as in they won't play. Furthermore, I noticed some PS1 games don't display correctly on a PS2 using component cables. The speed loading breaks some games too. I haven't looked into workarounds, but these issues are as a frustratingly niche a problem as those stubborn Dreamcast games that don't work in VGA mode. Mainly Bangai O in my case. That is so weird because I heard Hemrock talk about that as well, and it's like I don't have an original PS1 anymore. I just use my PS2, and it plays, as far as I knew, up until this came up on TCR, I thought it played every PS1 game in existence. As a matter of fact, I've got a big stack of PS1 games, and this is something I should talk about before we go off the air. I got more PS1 games off the internet, disc only, so they were like between $1 and $2 a piece. I just thought everything worked. So I don't know if I'm just like, what games don't work on the PS2? Can you give me some practical examples? Is it like this really expensive Game Boy game, the kind of thing that I would never play anyway? Because I was happy to kind of get rid of the original PS1. See, our PS1, before we had a PS2, when it was still like the console that everybody had, like most people, we had to flip the console over. And that worked for a long time, and then that stopped working, and then we had to like put the console up on its side, and then it like stopped working altogether, but every once in a while it would work, and we could never figure out why. So we just started doing weird things to it, trying to prompt that one time where it would work. Where it's like, you got to turn it on its side, and then while it's spinning, when it first does that sound, then you got to lay it down, so it eases in. You got to ease it in. And we were all like, we had these weird tricks, and of course, it was all garbage, and none of it really worked. But that was a system that we fought with to get working. So I was happy, to move on to the PS2. Even with compatibility issues. Never mind the loading time, because I'm going to be honest, the loading time doesn't really bother me so much. It's just a functioning percentage rate. That's what bothers me. I got to be able to put the game in and have it work. That's what I care about. Mecha Menace, brother, good to hear from you. Harold Farthington writes in on the MS-DOS word processor site. What's MS-DOS word processor video? What's the site? There is no site, brother. That video is just DOSBox. That's all. On my Marcy's secret video, Maximum RD writes, I'm scared. It was really cool to hear from Maximum RD again. And then we come to last week, and I think we've only got one comment, and it's from Desmond101. He says, I have repros of both Shining Force CD and Shining Force 3 with all scenarios and a bonus disc. They are so awesome to have, and it's a shame that they haven't been released on more formats. Very nice job on the guest host, Hemrock. Yes, big thanks to Hemrock for saving my bacon last week. And Guardian Bear Dizer. This is an interesting one. This is on the Embernic 280V versus the PAL KDV90, a practical comparison video, and that's a video that, at least from my channel, did really well. Most of the videos on my channel are like, 15, 30 views, that kind of thing. And that one got, I don't know, what is it now, a few hundred or something? It's the kind of thing where it's like grand scheme, not very many, but as it relates to my video, or my channel, it did really well. Hang on a second, because now I'm curious. 1,052 views since it was published. That's a lot for me. For old CF. That's quite a good bit. So this is the comment. He says, I have a V90. I found, like Ridge Racer, that doesn't want to load the bin and queue files. A, try a PAL version format, or B, try the PBP version. For FF7, use PAL. Resident Evil 1 through 3, use PBP. And Tony Hawk 1 through 4, use PBP. Only Tony Hawk 4, I found, runs at 20 FPS, but all the others at full 60 FPS. Plus, you'll need a bigger battery. I usually get only an hour of gameplay off the stock one. That's some really fine-grained technical advice there. I'm actually going to pin that because that is an awesome comment. I guess it won't let me pin it from the screen. One of the things I had been talking about was I loaded a bunch of PS1 games onto my PAL KDV90, and I wanted to do a video of like, hey, this is, the stock program, the stock settings. Let's see how some games run. There's a couple things that'll run. And Hemrock has mentioned you can get Final Fantasy VII running if you do some tweaking. So I knew that like you could pop the hood and do some things, but I wanted to show what it would look like from a practical user's perspective because that's what I am. But this is awesome. That it seems like the experiments have been done. And that is it. That is the fail bag. How are we doing now? TCR listeners really are the coolest people on planet Earth. It's our little pirate ship, boys and girls. It's just you here, just me here, and that's it. And I really appreciate the time you spend hanging out. Sick as a dog. I'm exhausted from work, but I gotta be honest, now that the show is over, I'm really glad that we got it together because I'm happy with how things turned out. And whatever it is you're dealing with, especially if you feel like you're overloaded, hang in there. Do the best you can. I can't promise it's going to turn out fine. Sometimes it doesn't. But I can promise you that's your best hope. And most of all, I'm rooting for you. I really am. I'll see you next week.